Welcome to Sinful's Horror Stories. Today's video features true scary quarantine stories. These stories all take place currently during this COVID-19 outbreak. I hope everyone's staying at home, being smart, only go out for the bare minimum and essentials. Don't take the chance. Let's stop this thing in its tracks. Sit back, relax, stay sinful. Story number 1. This is one of the craziest times in world history. We are all on hyper alert for a silent viral killer. People are locked away in their homes for weeks and months on end. I will not share what state we live in. My wife and our 2 kids live in a very rural area on a 5-acre piece of land. Our son is 12 years old and our daughter is 10. We have always been avid hunters and fishers. My wife and I are major gun enthusiasts as well. In the wake of this world crisis, we've always been prepared to live off the grid for multiple months, if necessary. We have a large vegetable garden that has been producing early this spring and canned items to last a year. When our state issued the mandatory stay-at-home order, we were at peace with it. Our family unit is very structured and close. Our kids know how to fend for themselves and how to use their rifles as well. I have a military background and preparation is my thing. My family is my absolute world. My wife and I are more concerned of what other people might or might not do in this crisis. This past Saturday night, the 4 of us were playing a board game at the kitchen table. I noticed headlights coming down our long gravel drive. They flooded the darkness of our property with harmful intent. Our property is pitch black at night. Our property is very hidden from the main road, and a person would have to be a friend or family member to know where we are located. Our kids peered out the living room window, while my wife grabbed her rifle and I grabbed our AR-15. The car killed their headlights right before they reached the paved part of our driveway. This sent me over the top in that moment. We only had one small light on in our house during our board game time, so there was no way that these strangers thought that we were home. This honestly gave us the element of surprise. My wife and I snuck out the sliding glass door and posted up in a flanking position, so when the vehicle reached us, I would be at the head of the charge. She would have my back. I walked out onto the gravel and flicked the switch on the tactical light on my AR. This lit up the car and it quietly rolled to a stop. The driver looked shocked and his passenger remained still in this moment. They both were wearing ski masks. My wife came up from behind and shined her light on them as well. Without a single word or verbal exchange, these men put their car in reverse and slowly backed up out of sight. As soon as they were out of sight, we heard their engine roar and gravel fly from their squealing tires. I had my wife go back inside with our children. I took our truck down the gravel road to make sure these men were gone for good. I kept my headlights off the entire time. When I got about 50 yards from the main road, I saw a van parked next to their car. There was a total of 6 men wearing masks. I rolled down my window and fired several rounds in their direction. The men scrambled into their vehicles and fled. I thought to myself, this could have gone so much differently. We would have been completely outmanned if these men were trained or more forceful. I don't think I'll sleep much tonight. Story number 2. Day 10 of self-quarantine. I live in an apartment in New York City. New York City has been hit harder than any other state in the US. I live alone and was watching TV at 2 a.m. last night. I noticed a strange sound at my door. It was a scratching sound followed by a meow-like cat sound. What the fuck is going on? I get up off the couch and crept slowly and silently to my door. The scratching sound continued. I looked out my peephole and didn't see anything. I was more than concerned at this point. I walked back to my kitchen area to get some water before I went to sleep. My apartment is a very small studio-style apartment. I essentially live in one large room with all of my amenities close at hand. When my head finally hit my pillow, a knock at the door came once more. I about jumped out of my skin. I approached my door with my handgun and peeped out the hole once more. I saw a man on all fours licking his hand like a cat. I yelled through the door that I was armed. That would-be intruder stood up slowly, placed his large knife directly against my door's peephole. I figured I would catch him off guard, and I had only milliseconds to react. I drew my gun and pulled the door open in a flash. He took a step back. We locked eyes in that moment, and he meowed at me and winked. He slowly walked down the long hallway and vanished. I am still to this day asking what the fuck that was. I walked the length of the hallway to make sure he had exited the building. Never saw him again. I walked back to my apartment door and somehow ended up locked out. My door never locks when it closes. Maybe in the madness I accidentally locked it. I'm without a key to my apartment, and I just heard heavy footsteps coming up from both staircases on my floor. I'm outside in the hall with my gun and boxers. Should be an interesting night. Story number 3. My friend and I are so sick of this stay-at-home order. My friend Sean and I are so over this shit. We have been quarantining ourselves for safety's sake for the past 8 days. We are currently virus-free and super thankful about that. Sean and I are in our early 20s and we're childhood best friends. We've been roommates for the past 3 years in a small ranch-style home on the edge of our small town. We were running low on food this past Sunday morning, so we decided to get up around 5 a.m. to be at the store by 6. There was one other car in the Safeway lot when we arrived. It was a small older sedan with tinted windows. Sean parked near the entrance of the store. This lone car turned on its engine, slowly rolled right up next to our car. There was at least 100 other spots open for this person or persons, and yet this was happening. I asked Sean what the hell was going on. He shrugged his shoulders. We got out of our car and headed into the grocery. To be honest, it was creepy, but not that maddening. We hadn't done anything to provoke this mystery car. We were in the store maybe 15 minutes and then came back outside. The car was gone. Nowhere in our line of sight. I scanned the lot multiple times and still nothing. I walked up to the driver's side door, and there was a small piece of paper taped to the window. I yelled at Sean and let him know there was a note. I read it, and this is what was written. Chris, which is my name, we have been watching you this past month. You have been a very bad man, and always be aware of your surroundings. You've made a huge mistake and will pay the ultimate price. What the fuck is this shit? Sean was visibly shook. My heart was pounding in my chest, and it felt like time was standing still. We got into the car and drove through town aimlessly, trying to figure things out. I knew going home right now wasn't the best move. I honestly have no clue who this could be. Sean and I will sleep with our eyes open tonight. As I pull the car into our driveway, Sean whispers, "Chris, that car's parked a few blocks down the street." I decide to throw the car in reverse and haul ass to this parked car. I pull up right behind it, take a picture of the license plate, and immediately dial 911. The car speeds off. The police called me back and said this car was stolen, found abandoned 5 miles out of town in the woods. We still have no clue who is fucking with us. Story number 4. I am a 28-year-old female, My boyfriend and I just recently moved in together. We got an apartment together right before this whole coronavirus outbreak. The strange event took place last weekend. To clue you in on our routine, we always go for late night walks and jogs to stay sane. We've been following the quarantine to the T to avoid the virus, but every night we stretch our legs and get outside. We hit the ground running at 11 p.m. every night. Tonight started out no different than any other night. My boyfriend and I take this nature path near our complex. It is very well lit for the most part. We always run a solid 3 to 5 miles each night. On mile 1 we had a solid pace going and I was dialed into my music. My boyfriend grabbed my arm and forced me to stop. He whispered to me that someone was following us. He said, "Don't turn around, just start jogging again and keep pace with me." We continued our jog and this man kept about a 50-foot distance behind us jogging. He was wearing all black and had a hood over his face. 60 seconds go by and he starts sprinting. My boyfriend in one motion grabs me, swings me around in the opposite direction. We cut through a small hidden path. Branches were hitting me in the face, scratching and pulling my skin apart. I tasted blood in my mouth. My lip was ripped open. My boyfriend took the brunt of it, blazing a trail for us through the night. Fast steps behind us from this mystery man chasing us. My heart was pounding, my lungs were burning. My boyfriend tripped and fell, breaking his ankle. The man caught up to us and pulled a knife. I reached for my pepper spray and it was snagged in my pocket. The last thing I remember is a horrible pain in the back of my head. He struck me with a huge stick and everything went black. I woke up in the hospital alone. My boyfriend was not next to me. After I was knocked out, he was stabbed and left for dead. He is currently on life support from his injuries. I will never, ever be the same. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Please be sure to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe for future content. Email your true scary stories to thesinfulsavant@gmail.com to have your story featured on an upcoming video. Until we meet again, stay sinful.